That was Richard Sherman. I did not take an opening from a press conference this week, so instead I went to Richard Sherman talking about how the refs impact games. We had several games this week in the NFL impacted by officiating. The Giants pretty blatantly were. I know we're going to get into that. We're the three angry Giant fans and a Jet fan. This is your host Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Jets fan Novak. And guys, we're probably gonna go on a rant here about not just officiating, but inconsistency around the NFL. A lot of things to dig into. We got a preview of the Washington game. The Jets are on bye. Talk about fake Chargers fans possibly, which is going around the NFL. And then we got a boatload of questions and topics to bring up. But before we get into that, let's give a shout out. So, hello to Junga, California. Population 26,700. It's sometimes linked to Sunland. So they usually do a hyphenated Sunland dash Tujunga because they share a police station, a high school, and a library. So it's been known for biker gangs and drug dealers. So they've had to make a lot of efforts to clean up the city. But it is also the home of Alan Alda, Patrick Swayze, and Giancarlo Stanton.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Tujunga, is that spelled with a T? C? Like, how's it spelled? Like, is it like Keith? What is it?
Tujunga.
It reminds me of Keith Tuchuk in the NHL. For all you NHL fans out there, like the best last name in all of hockey. You don't even know what it starts with, like a TC.
T and a K.
Right, there's a K in there, right? Novak? Yeah, there's all kinds of weird crooked letters in the front. Yeah, Tuchuk. It's a great name.
Yeah, there's some names that are just hockey names. As soon as you hear them, you're like, that's a hockey name.
Tujunga. That could be a name.
I mean, you sound like a badass if you're from Tujunga, right?
You do.
I think you have to be a badass. It's a home of rival biker gangs, drug dealing.
Absolutely.
When you said it shared a hyphenated city with somebody, I was going to say, are they anything like TK Fort Mill here in South Carolina? But it didn't sound like it. I don't think so. I don't think that's on
the. Cardone and I don't sound very badass. We're from Lincroft.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just thinking that, Novak. There's Lincroft.
Tujunga.
Yeah.
So, guys, the brutal stats. I'm going to kick off the podcast with a brutal stat again. So, Giants are the only team in the Super Bowl era. It seems like this is the third time this year that they've been the only team in the Super Bowl era who outrushed their opponent, outpassed their opponent, had less interceptions and less fumbles than the opponent, and less missed field goals. I can't talk. It's still 3 a.m. here. And they lost. Teams were 134-0 up until that point. And in this game, the Giants lost.
They were a special team. I'm telling you, this team.
I'm trying to wrap my
this team is special. We've gone 2 weeks where we haven't turned the ball over, and we've gotten 5 takeaways. We're 0-2 in those games, and we've been outscored by a disgusting amount of points.
It's unbelievable the way this team finds ways to lose. Now 134-0. Scott, those stats you just trotted out there, I can't even wrap my head around what you just said. I really can't. I was thinking of just 2 of them. I wrote down 2, like Sunday night we were +2 in turnovers, which rarely happens. And when do we get 2 fucking missed field goals in a game? Like the Bills did everything possible to lose that game. They did. They had to apologize for winning that game. Buffalo, unbelievable.
Well, the NFL helped them out.
Yes, they did. I know we'll get into that.
Well,
these stats, though, the scary thing about these stats, I think we started talking about how the stats for the Giants don't look that bad in normally these key areas, going back to the San Francisco game. And to me, it's a sickening feeling, because what that means is that just shows you how hopeless this team actually is. A lot of, we talk, Cardone, you and I know a lot of years about just look like a football team. Let's just win the turnover battle. How about that? How about we just win a quarter? We're doing those things, and we're losing badly. That's a problem. I don't know where to start to fix that. Hint, I do offensive line, but anyway.
Well,
Spoiler.
and that's where the bar has been so low that when the offensive line isn't even good, they're just not terrible. People are talking this week about how Justin Pugh stabilized the offensive line, how this is great, how everything's back, and the Giants offensive line didn't play all that great. Tyrod Taylor was pressured on almost 50% of his throws. We'll get into the discussion about Taylor versus Jones because it's all over the place. But this is a team that, again, scored 9 points after being at the 1-yard line 2 different times. And Taylor was directly responsible for not getting them in the first time because he checked down to a running play instead of just taking your chances at the goal line at the end of the first half to score points. So I know we'll get into that part of it. But any thoughts you guys had on what the offensive line looked like or how the offense looked? Because we had more downfield throws, yes, but were we more effective? I don't think so.
To me, it was the offensive line started out looking pretty darn good, and Pugh was playing very well at guard. But because we're the Giants and can't have anything go well, of course, the tackle gets hurt. Pugh has to move out the tackle. He immediately starts getting beat by a drum. Now he shored that up a little bit. He played serviceable tackle the second half of that game, but I thought the offensive line. I mean, I saw a couple run plays where they were getting push. Taylor didn't have a bunch of time. He had more time than Jones has had, and he was able to step into some throws and get a couple balls downfield. So early on I was very encouraged, but so who was it? Scott, the tackle, Zudu, is that who plays out there?
Yeah, like, Josh Zudu.
Yeah. So he had been terrible at tackle. He was looking okay in that game until, of course, he got hurt. From then on, it kind of looked like same old stuff out of the offensive line. But I do think, against considering the Buffalo Bills defensive front, that they looked, well, I was going to say they looked good enough to win the game. Obviously, they were good enough to win the game. The Giants should have won the game. So they were, if we get that kind of play, and you assume by the time Jones comes back, you hope Thomas is back and we can plug you in at guard. He looked great at guard. And, have Neal, whatever Neal's doing. I didn't pay much attention to him this week, but of course, Schmitz. That's an NFL offensive line. I think, you're allowed to have one bad player on your offensive line. Most teams do, but they cover them up because everyone else is good. So there's some things to maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel on this offensive line mess. Now, I don't ever think it's going to get to the point of good, but the needle's been buried on dysfunctional for the up till now. So that was my takeaway.
I don't know, guys. This offensive line is so pathetic that I think what we think as Giant fans, we've been so damaged mentally by this offensive line that we think Sunday night they actually had a pretty good game. That was still probably, for most NFL teams, would be the worst offensive line output that the majority of teams in the NFL would have had to this point in the season.
I agree.
Because even though we think, and I'm not saying, Mike, that yes, I thought at times, wow, the offensive line was actually holding up here and there throughout the game at certain times because it's been so bad up to this point. So yeah, but again, through our lens and through our fan eyes, it's a bad line. Like, it was still a bad game because we think it was okay. Buffalo still had 3 sacks. Taylor was still pressured on. I don't know exactly, Scott, maybe you have the exact percentage of plays that he was pressured on. But they also had, here's the other thing that doesn't seem to get, it's not as popular as the sack, is the old TFL, the tackles for losses. Buffalo had 9 of those. 9. So when you add that together, that's 12 plays where you're getting tackled behind the line. That's ridiculous. Think about that, guys. And that doesn't account all the 1 and 2 yard rushes and gains and those kinds of things. So there's a majority of plays that are going for no yards or hardly any yards. It's still just a mess. It's a disaster. I mean, Justin Pugh, this guy, he actually played pretty good for a guy who was on the couch 2 weeks ago. So I'll give Pugh that credit. It was actually good to see him out there. Like, I remember that guy, 76. Yeah, Pugh, yeah. Wasn't he? So he actually didn't play that bad for a guy who was, like I said, sitting on his living room couch a couple weeks ago. But that's how bad this line is, guys. Where we think that they're having a good game, but in most NFL teams, that's still a bad effort.
So
Yeah.
Taylor was pressured a little bit less than half of the throws. I think it was like 48%.
It's too much.
Again, that's like 15 points higher than the average NFL.
Yeah, and remember, I said last week in our pre-look ahead at this game that if I were the Buffalo defensive coordinator, I wouldn't come after Tyrod Taylor at all.
Yeah.
You know, I would sit back and make Tyrod Taylor beat. You know, I don't. So I kind of expected less pressure on Taylor than Jones gets. But still, I mean, you don't have to pressure this team to get their offensive line to screw up. That's the sad thing.
And the Giants defense played very well. Bobby Okereke was all over the place.
Oh my God, he was awesome.
It's great.
It was his best game.
Forced a fumble. He had a sack that was called a penalty for some reason. Again, I mean, guys, the three big plays in this game were all penalties or non-penalty calls. Actually, there were three critical penalties and then one non-penalty call. So you had Mike didn't notice Evan Neal. I noticed one play where he wasn't downfield, but somehow got called for being illegally downfield on a long pass to Hyatt, which is funny because if you watch the replay of that, there's a guy coming in immediately calling it no catch. They don't even, he doesn't even check with the other ref. He's just calling no catch, and they called it a catch. But then somehow a phantom flag appeared because I've seen every angle, and I've not seen when this flag was thrown. If one ever hit the turf, or they talk about it afterwards, we could break that down. And then we have the Okereke roughing penalty because he apparently hit Josh Allen too hard. He was not at the head. I don't know why you can't talk about that either and overturn that call. And then you had defensive holding by Leonard Williams on a running play where he's getting tackled and thrown to the ground, and they called a penalty on him. I kept thinking, well, they're gonna say it was the offensive guy, just pointed the wrong way, the old officiating gap. No, that didn't happen. And then obviously the non-call on Waller in the end zone when he's mugged, and then Terry McAulay giving a feeble attempt to try and explain away that call at the end of the game on Sunday night, where he's like, well, you might think it's pass interference, but after getting into the end zone and the ball's in the air, the rules of defensive holding changed dramatically. Well, but his arm is being pulled down. It's a penalty. It's clear as day. That's basically what Richard Sherman was saying in the opening.
Yeah, you could call 3 penalties on that play. There's illegal contact, defensive holding, and pass interference. He did it all. He did it all.
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah.
But how do we stomach a loss like this and just sit down and take it? I mean, you basically just take an L on plays that are being called inconsistently with the rest of the NFL.
Well, I mentioned this while we were texting during the game, and I think McAulay at the end, he couldn't bury those refs because that would have been like the 3rd time in the game he's done it. And we just talked about how useless, what a great idea about how poor the execution is of the official in the booth. Because I love that idea. When that first came on, I loved that idea. And you quickly notice after about a half a season, he's just there to calm everyone down that the call they just made was good, no matter what it was, right? Very rarely does that guy in the booth say, oh, that's a bad call. Terry McAulay said it 3 times.
Yeah, in the same game.
At least 2. Maybe I'm adding one, but I know he said it on the lineman downfield, and I know he said it on the hit on the quarterback.
Yeah,
that there's nothing there. So I don't remember if there was a 3rd one or not, but it was at least twice. And so if you've got that happening in a game, and then as Scott said, just a feeble attempt at the end to excuse what was every defensive penalty in one play. I mean, but I have another take on this. I'll let Cardone answer that. Mine will probably come a little bit later, but.
Well, we've talked about this on our pod many times before. Is why can't they institute a replay for like roughing penalties? We see whether it's face masks or whether it's a hit to the head. They do it like in college with targeting, right? They look to see if a guy used his head. Why can't, I know we've talked about this a million times, so I don't want to beat a dead horse here with this particular topic, but for God's sakes, Why not? Why can't that just be reviewable? Why not? Why not have an officials review or have them huddle up, go up to the booth, get the damn play called right? I don't care about slowing down. Who cares about slowing down a game when the officiating is correct? Make the right call. We've talked about this a million times, guys, million times. Because when you see it play out in a game where it decides games, that's when it's intolerable and it's unacceptable. And when you're on the short end of that, man, there's nothing more infuriating. That's all it is. It's just nothing more infuriating. I mean, aside from, we'll get to the Giants, Tyrod Taylor, checking down on the 1 yard line, all that shit. But right now, we're as far as that particular those two penalties. Like you're right, Mike. When do you hear the booth official just blatantly disagree with what's called on the field? He always supports those guys like 9 out of 10 times easily.
Yep.
And guys, I saw a good segment with Pat McAfee this week. He was talking about it was a accumulation. It wasn't just the Giants game, but he was talking about pass interference, how we used to review it for that 1 year after the debacle in the playoff game between the Vikings and the Saints. And he said that year that they reviewed it, he said it wasn't a bad idea. He said it was terrible execution. And he basically came out and said it was Walt Coleman and Al Riveron who screwed everything because they sat in that booth and they told us week after week something that our eyes weren't seeing. Like they'd come back we would come to a conclusion. They'd come back with a conclusion that was completely different from ours. They wanted to protect the referees. They just wanted to bury the whole idea of reviewing interference. And so that's why it failed. And I agreed with them. We talked about it before, how that didn't work because the refs didn't care. They didn't want it. They didn't want to show each other up. And when you're talking about game deciding penalties, especially on these hard hits, it wasn't just the Giants game. We saw it in the 49er game. We saw it around the league where guys are hitting people hard and it looks bad. And the player goes down and automatically a flag comes out because it looked bad. It reminds me of like youth sports where a big sixth grader is taking out a little sixth grader and knocks him to the ground and everyone's like, oh, and the game stops, flags all over the place. And it's like, oh, the bigger guy hit the little guy. You got something happened.
It's brutal.
The penalty that has to go, and you know what? They don't call it much anymore anyway. At least you don't see it called very much, but it just has to go because it's almost redundant. Can we just get rid of illegal contact? That's the bad one. That's contact. Just think about what that penalty even says. Contact. Illegal contact in a football game. Illegal.
I thought about that.
I mean, what? I mean, if you grab and hold somebody on no matter when you do that, what side of the ball you're on the football field, that's a penalty. Everyone knows it. We know what pass interference is, right? Just illegal contact. Get it out of there. What is the use? That feels like a rule they put in to stop the Patriots. I think it was actually, but
yeah.
But
we got to blame Peyton Manning for that rule. I think he lobbied for it because it went back when the Colts were going up against the Patriots, and the Patriots were just manhandle the Colts receivers.
Yeah, all the way down the field. Yeah.
The illegal contact penalty was a funny one because I was telling these guys a story beforehand. I'm in Germany still. I leave tomorrow, but watching the game, even in German, the announcers were saying, and I incorrectly said it before the pod, but it was during the Ravens game, the one in London, Ravens Titans, and they called like 3 illegal contact penalties. And they showed the replay on one, and the guy says in German, "I don't even know what a penalty is anymore." So he basically said what we say every week.
Yeah. Illegal contact, man. That does not have any place in football.
I'm just picturing a German accent hearing that. Yeah.
Like
just
one of the announcers was
angry gibberish coming out.
Actually, Marcus Kuhn, the former Giant.
Oh. Yes.
Giant defensive lineman. He's still got the man bun.
Nice look.
So let's talk about the sequence at the end of the first half. And then at the end of the game here. I mean, so at the end of the first half, Giants have a first down and goal at the 1 because of a pass interference penalty. And they decide to run the ball on sort of an extended handoff. Barkley doesn't get in, and we can't get the ball spiked before 14 seconds on a running play, which seems to me a huge amount of time to be able to get the ball spiked. Regardless, we can't get the ball spiked, but should we have even been running the ball there in the first place, given that we had 14 seconds and you have multiple opportunities to get the ball in the end zone?
Unbelievable. This is only the New York Giants seems to make that kind of play. But it's Tyrod Taylor. Is he not? We all know that he checked down into that run there, right? So, but is it on him or is it on the coaching guys? Because I was so infuriated that I couldn't even watch the press conferences. I couldn't listen to. I just couldn't listen to any of it. So I feel a little unprepared actually to kind of talk about Dable's response and how he answered that brutal question. But you have to know that's the biggest part about head coaching is that you've got to prepare and plan for every scenario that plays out in an NFL game. So isn't it on Dable to be making sure and barking that you can't no matter how the defense lines up, or whatever happens, you cannot check down into a run. I don't care what you see, because if that could happen, to come away there with no points. Immediately I was thinking, oh my gosh, we have at least 2, if not 3 chances to throw the ball. Jump ball, do whatever, something. Maybe you get a penalty or something. I was pissed off just at the idea of getting a field goal there, let alone no points. And the Giants. I'm telling you guys, I mean, I don't know any other team that comes away in that situation with no points, let alone 3. It's unacceptable. It's unbearable. And I don't know who to point the finger at there.
Well, go ahead, Novak.
Well, I don't really want to weigh in on the Giants because no one gives a crap at what I have to say. But what I will say is that it happened to the Jets the previous week. Same exact thing. They didn't spike the ball fast enough and they got nothing. Right. But what our coach did not. So I texted you guys this, and I have a problem with this. I'm sorry. Saleh walked out. He was clearly upset that it happened, and he went into the locker room. Daboll, in my opinion, from an outsider's perspective, has got to stop calling these players out on national television as if to say, not my fault. You fucked up. Your fault. You're special teams coordinator. Your fault, offensive coordinator. He's got to stop with this. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm not a Giants fan. It is enough. Is enough with this guy. It is embarrassing. You're the head coach. It ends with you, dude. I agree with Cardone. You asked the question. It ends with him. Don't call him out on national television.
Yeah, I am somehow going to find a way to agree with both of you here, or maybe disagree with both of you in some way. No, I'm 100% behind what Novak said. I said it the week that he got in Jones' ass out there. He sprinted out to the 50-yard line to give Jones hell coming off the field. I mean, give me a break with that. But you can't do it. And it comes off, and I don't know. I know other coaches get into their players on the sideline, but I don't think as visibly as Dable seems to do it. Dable, it totally reads like, and I get the same gut feeling I think Novak's talking about here, that he is intentionally making a scene to deflect the blame from himself. He wanted everyone to know that Tyrod Taylor checked that play at the line. He couldn't wait for people to know that. And I feel like if that's Eli and Tom Coughlin, first of all, Eli would never in a million years do that. He knows better. But if that were Eli and Tom Coughlin would get on the podium and eat that. He would get on the podium and he would eat it. And he wouldn't do anything on the field other than, his whatever Tom Coughlin anger thing, but that wouldn't be directed at anybody. So yeah, that's a great take, Novak. And I agree. And it's a very bad look. It's a very petty look. And I don't like it. That doesn't take away from the fact that I still love the guy as a coach, but I agree. That's coming off as unprofessional. However, I'll say this. Tyrod Taylor, as a professional, 85-year veteran of the NFL, has to know you can't run the ball there. Period.
Yeah. Complete breakdown.
That's the end of the story for me right there. Yeah. I mean, would I love it if they had called the play and who their coach was in the headphone or whatever said, Tyrod, you cannot, you can't take the option. You know that, right? Don't take the option. I would love if that happened. Apparently that didn't. but Taylor himself has to know.
Why give him the option? Why not just call a passing play?
Yeah, the passing play must have been tied to an option play, but they liked the pass on that play. Who knows? That's a good point.
But what bothered me additionally about that play, guys, because I've watched the replay a couple times, and after Barkley is just engulfed and dropped for a no gain, a loss, whatever, and the Bills are doing the right thing, they're laying on top of them as they should, right?
Yep.
But if you noticed, if you guys watched, Tyrod Taylor, again, I don't care if you're a rookie, if you lead in this league, however long he's been, he really didn't realize the situation, and neither did a couple of linemen. There were linemen not immediately getting back to the line, getting set. They weren't. They're kind of loafing around. All of a sudden, they were like, "Oh shit! Wait a minute! Like the clock is running. What are we doing?" Tyrod Taylor, for a minute, he obviously got something in his ear from the coach or from somebody, and it was like all of a sudden, then jumped into action. Like, holy! That's what pissed me off even more about that play. The fact that he checked down and all that, and the coach, you can blame everybody. But then the fact that, holy shit, like they didn't realize at that point still what the fuck was going on. There's no words to describe it, guys. There's just not.
And then the trickle down effect there is because you fail at the end of the first half running the ball, at the end of the game, you don't put your ball in Saquon Barkley's hands. You attempt to pass to Waller, which again, had that been cleanly played by the defense, Waller has a touchdown. But still, you don't hand the ball off there because you're probably thinking about the end of the first half.
You absolutely are. That play at the end of the first half, it burned him twice.
It did. It really did. But guys, I kept thinking, holy shit, like we can go to halftime with a 13-0 lead and looking good, getting the ball to start the second half. Buffalo was doing they were flat. Buffalo was flat in a home Sunday night game, kind of just sleepwalking their way because they got the New York Giants at home and they didn't look like they had a sense of urgency. The Giants were playing certainly well enough, and you never know what would happen. You just don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter because we had a chance to win the game at the end anyway on the 1 yard line. So it really didn't even matter. That part, I'm barking about the play at the end of the first half. Shit, it didn't even matter, guys, because we had the game in our hands on the 1 yard line at the end of the game as well.
Still should have won. Even with that huge boneheaded thing, we still should have won. Guys, I walked away from that game and the script has fully flipped on us. Now, back in the day where the Giants were regularly good, the Washington would play us like that. They would do something so boneheaded every game, and you'd laugh at them, and they'd somehow let the clock run out at the end of the first half, or they'd blow 2 timeouts and only have 1 at the end of the game, and it was just we are that now. This is what we are now, and now that part of it goes to coaching.
Novak's probably can shake his head at this next comment because as a lifelong Jet fan, excruciating like losses where there's so many of them and you can't even keep track of them anymore. You can't even you can't even rank them or list them. Like, where do we rank this one as Giant fans? Where does this one rank? It just gets thrown in this pile of I don't even know what. So Novak, I can't help but go back to of course, the Namath rant, right, which was just awesome and legendary earlier this year, where I swear to God, guys, the Super Bowls that we won with Eli Manning, the football gods are saying, all right, we'll give you these 2 Super Bowls, but you ain't fucking getting anything the rest of your life. In fact, you're going to suffer through ridiculous losses. You're going to be 1-5 to start every season for the next decade. We're paying for those championships, I'll tell you that. Yeah. Because I don't know. I know that's as far-fetched to get as you can get, but I don't have but it's unbelievable. I keep going back to the fact that, like, well, and I'd love to, and again, Novak, apologize, but like, I'll take that. You can live on I'm living on the championships right now because we have nothing else. We have nothing else right now. Novak's probably like, fuck off, Cardone.
I would pay money to be in your shoes.
I'll take one of those. I know. So it's hard to.
I would give my right arm to be in your shoes right now.
I know.
I don't know how far-fetched it is. I believe Scott and I, Cost, actually made that deal on the telephone.
We did.
We were like, I swear to God, if they win this game, I don't have to see another Giants win my entire life. Just win this fucking game. And man,
it's what's happening, man. It's what's going on.
Well, I mean, honestly, this loss, if I'm a Giants fan, has to be 100 times angrier than week 1 when you just got obliterated by the Cowboys and embarrassed on national television because you
Yeah.
deserved to win that game. That was your game. You were the better team on Sunday. There's no way to say that you were not. You owned them because you should have gone up 13-0 at the end of the first half, and you got screwed by the officiating at the last play of the game. And there's no dispute on that. I mean, it was egregious. It was disgusting that call was made. You won that game. I feel the same way about the Jets against the Chiefs 2 weeks earlier. You guys you won that game. You should be you are 2-4. Don't listen to it. You're 2-4. You're not 1-5.
Don't listen to the.
But we're 6 weeks into a season, and again, this was bad for me because I got up at 2:30 in the morning to watch this game,
Ugh.
and I would have rather the score was 30-0 Buffalo at halftime. I could have gone to bed, slept in. Instead, I'm up just angry after that game, watching it, almost disbelief, numb, all that other shit we've been feeling this year. But you go back, we're 6 games in, and this is the 3rd or 4th week I've come on the air with some unbelievable stat that hasn't happened to any team in the Super Bowl era. How does it happen 3 times out of 6 games in a year?
Right.
That's so true.
It shouldn't. It doesn't. It's it's inexplicable.
How do you
It
break
is.
134-0 streak? You know, we're the
I guess that might be why, and knowing the other stats of this game and how this is rolled out for us so far, I'm not even mad about the call at the end. I'm really not, because of course that happened. That's kind of, maybe I'm just beat down to a point where I just don't even. I expected something like that to happen. I admit when we got the penalty, I thought the game was over. I thought we had won the game. I thought they were going to hand it off to Saquon and just do a dog pile that rolled into the end zone. I just did. I saw it in my head. I saw it happening. But when it happened, I just kind of chuckled and turned the TV off. And I knew it was interference, but it's just the officiating around the league in general is so bad
Awful.
that I feel like me whining about the Giants losing a game from it takes away. That makes it sound like I'm a bitter Giants fan. I'm a bitter football fan at this point, rather than just the Giants. And I don't know. We were destined to lose the game. The football gods tried to take it for us at halftime. We fought back, and so they had to take it from us at the end. But let's put the lid on that one if we got nothing else, and let Novak take his victory lap.
Yeah, I mean, Novak, 2 weeks in a row now, the Jets have gone after karma of coaches that are sort of assholes in this league, and this time Nick Sirianni tasted his first defeat of the season, and there were several times in that game I felt like they were trying to hand the game to the Eagles, and the Jets overcame that, and at the end, the defense suffocated everything and came up with a big win. So we knew you were happy. We were happy for you. We thought this would be a celebration pod. Giants beat the Bills. Jets beat the Eagles. No.
Not to be.
No. Sorry that you guys didn't win, but I got to tell you, I look, there are very few games that I can look back on in my Jets history to say I was proud to be a Jets fan. This was one of them. I know it's early in the season. It's only game 6. I get that. But Philly was undefeated. They were the last undefeated team going into this, right? They have not beaten them. They're 0-12 against Philadelphia going into this game. And I don't talk very positively about the Jets often, as you know. I'm a downtrodden, beaten down. I just can't stand the fact that I'm a Jets fan. They fucking made me proud for once. That defense is for real. And what I said at the beginning of the year was, I listened back to a pod when I talked about it, that defensive line, they rotate 10. By the time the fourth quarter rolls around, that offensive line is gassed. And that defensive line is going after that quarterback time and time and time again, making even great quarterbacks make mistakes. So I've got a great stat for you. So the combination of Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts this year have 18 interceptions. 8 of them are against the Jets.
Oh.
Wow.
Love it.
How fucking great is that?
Yeah.
8
Wow.
interceptions by one team against what I would say, or that the world says, are the 3 greatest quarterbacks in the league by the Jets. And it's because of this defensive scheme. They wear you down with that defensive line. They rotate them out in and out. They've got good corners. And don't forget, the Jets in this game they were down to 2 practice squad cornerbacks, and they still held their own against the Eagles, held them to 14 points. I was so proud of this defense and this team. Uh, the way in which they won, I couldn't be more excited. The offense wasn't great. Fine. But this is how the Jets are going to have to win moving forward. They are not going to blow teams out. They are not going to win, 42-10. They're not going to win 42-21. They're going to have to win games 20-14, 17-10, 24-3, whatever it's going to be. This is how they're going to have to win their game. This is the script. Run the ball, get some first downs, good special teams. Greg Zuerlein, who's a great kicker. And Cardone has mentioned this many times. Like, why is it so wrong to get field goals? What's wrong with it? If I can get 15 points, but we're managing the clock and we're getting 15 points and 5 field goals, I'm fine with that if that defense is that good. So
I was yelling at Booger McFarland about that on Saturday. He was saying field goals don't win games. I like what?
Bullshit.
No, asshole, they do.
Absolutely, they do. As long as you don't miss,
Yeah.
right? And so the special teams are they're getting them. They're pinning them back. The defense is holding. Look, I'm so freaking pumped because I hate Philadelphia, all things Philadelphia. You guys do more than I. I hate Philadelphia for all sports. And the fact that we beat the Eagles and this obnoxious fan base. I got a friend of mine, Al, who's listening to this podcast, popping off saying, how could we lose these pathetic Jets? Bullshit, dude. We beat you like nothing else. This defense owned you all fucking day. And I was proud of this damn team. Sorry, I had to go off because I was so pumped after this game. I can't even tell you.
Well, you made a mistake there. You said the Jets held the Eagles to 14 points. Wasn't it really 7?
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, the officiating. Like I don't want to get to my pet peeve, but I will tell you that yes. So Hurts did that quarterback sneak. Jets stopped them. They fumble the ball into the end zone. The Jets get the ball 1 yard line, goes to commercial break. They come back. All of a sudden, the Eagles get a touchdown. I'm going, what? So the inconsistency of the officiating is out of control, and you guys experienced the worst of it. But throughout the course of the game, it was clear that they're favoring the Eagles, they're favoring the Chiefs, they're favoring the Bills. It is evident every single game you watch. And so, yeah, it should have been 20-7. The Jets own them all day long. I don't care what anybody says. That game shouldn't have been as close as it was. If we had any semblance of a quarterback, that game would have been a blowout, which makes me ill that Rodgers is not here, but whatever.
Well, we saw Rodgers throwing the ball on the practice field this week. So is he making a miraculous return after the bye?
You had to ask me that. That is a really good question. That is a lot of the debate, and only the dick could say he's going to come back in 3 months after an Achilles injury. But here's the thing that I think is going to happen, right? He says, I'm going to come back by the end of the year, maybe December. You know when the Jets play? Christmas Eve. You know what they're going to probably do, the NFL? They're going to set up a manger in the end zone, and he's going to like emerge from the manger, like, with his offensive lineman bringing him frankincense and myrrh, like he's Jesus Christ. That's what Rodgers thinks he is.
Right. Why don't we just let's put a cloth around him. Let's have you're right, Novak. Let's have the 3 wise men there. Let's literally reenact the birth of Christ and have him literally come out of a manger.
Is he going to
that, or he's going to come in as Santa Claus or something? One of the two, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna do something to make this a spectacle that he's going to come back on Christmas Eve.
He's going to be Vince Vaughn in the 4 Christmases.
Oh gosh.
And this baby from the manger.
And then the NFL will immediately have like manger cam, like from in the middle of the game somehow.
He's laying in there in a straw basket. Rodgers is sitting there with his helmet on.
That's great. So Jets are off this week, so they get to enjoy their bye. And it's always good when you go out on a bye on a winning streak. I mean, instead of losing to the Eagles in disappointing fashion, Novak gets to stay pumped for another week. He just gets to watch in glee, well, probably in horror at some of the other stuff going on in the NFL.
It's a good feeling and it's rare. I got to be honest. So I'm gonna enjoy this for 2 weeks because I don't get this feeling often.
And on top of that, I'll pile on. Yeah, Novak gets to sit around for 2 weeks. Oh, and he gets the pathetic New York Giants when he comes back off of his bye. How the hell are we going to rise up against the Commandos this weekend? I mean, if you're the Giants, how do you rise up after that loss and looking up and seeing yourselves 1-5 at the bottom of the NFC East? How the hell are you going to rise up against this team?
The funny thing, Cardone, is I think we saw the rise up. I think that was it. That's all we got. 9 points. And failure on the goal line. I think that was our rise up.
That was our rise up. We won't see that again until 2024. That's it. That was the last one of the year.
You guys are sort of stealing, my take too on the preview of the Skins game. Like, I came off the Buffalo game. You think you're close with Buffalo. Buffalo played terribly. They played down to us, and we still didn't beat them, given how many chances we had. Now, again, were those chances unfair? Yes, but still we lost. I think we're losing this game pretty badly. I think this is going to be one where Sam Howell comes in. He's got like a 2-touchdown lead going into the fourth quarter. Maybe we scored a cut the lead, but maybe we don't, and we lose badly, or we lose, not badly, but we still lose to the Redskin team that we've owned over the last few years. I'm not positive at all. We don't know Jones's status. I'm assuming he's going to be out another week. Now, what Dable said this week was, he's not out for the year, and he got really animated when asked that in the press conference. He's like, what do you mean? Dan's not done for the year. But it doesn't matter, I don't think. If Tyrod Taylor's in there, I don't give us much of a chance. We saw more downfield throws than we did when Jones was in there, but it didn't lead to anything. We got like I said, we got gifted 2 times the ball at the 1 yard line and didn't capitalize on either. And at the end of the day, Graham Gano was our offense. We haven't scored a touchdown now, guys, in like 3 games.
And I saw another stat, right? They trotted it out there on the graphic. First 6 games, first time since 1998, the Giants are one of whatever the last team it was, haven't scored an offensive touchdown in the first half through week 6. Right? Did you guys see that stat that got trotted out? Whoever the team was, I think it was Chargers maybe in 1990. The bottom line is it's been 25 years. The Giants, like you said, it's been 6 games, and these statistics that are being trotted out are unprecedented. We're 1/3 of the way through the season, and look what we've already accomplished with shattering the record book. It's unbelievable.
Was it Judge's last season, the year we had the debacle at the end of the last 2 minutes of the half, where we were outscored like 170-1?
Oh my God, that's right. Remember that? We kept track of that one. Well, we didn't have to, but I mean the NFL was keeping track. But we were doing our own little, we're having our own little party with that one. But Scott, I'm in agreement. I mean, I don't have the Giants. I think the Giants lose a 1-score game. I don't know if we're doing predictions now. I have the Giants losing by a touchdown. I think, like to your point, I think it's going to be Washington controlling this game. I don't think the Giants rise up. Daniel Jones is not playing Sunday. I'm going to say it right here. He's not playing. Yeah. There's no way he's coming back. The only update I saw today, and everyone's seeing the same thing, obviously, that he was, he's not cleared for contact yet. He's throwing. That's fine. I'd be stunned if he's playing on Sunday. It's just the Giants. It's just the way we are. I'm not expecting to see him on the field. I have the Giants losing 23-16, and maybe the Giants with a late touchdown. Maybe. I just see Washington. Their front 4 is going to get after Taylor, and we're going to see a lot of the same things: sacks, tackle for losses. It's the same. It's the same thing every week, guys. This is going back to my Hoarders episode a couple seasons ago, like where it's just the same shit. It's the same show. The same, like, oh shit, we got a mess here. Where do we start to clean this up? It's the same thing. Hoarders, season 4.
Oh, so brutal. I'm just gonna hop on the reasoning. I'm just gonna use Cardone's and say 20-13 Washington.
Yeah, and I have the Giants losing this game 24-12, And so those 12 points could be 4 field goals from Graham Goodell, meaning we would not have scored another touchdown in the first half or the second half of the game.
Who knows?
Novak?
I have you guys winning this game. I think the Bills game was a shot in the arm. No such thing as a moral victory. But the reason I'm picking you, I want nothing to do with the Giants at 1-6. I want you to come off of a win. So I'm doing this to make sure that you win, so we can get you at 2-5 versus 1-6. 27-14 Giants.
Wow.
Ooh.
A 2-score win?
2-score win.
Come on,
That's-
Novak.
You're drunk.
Love it.
I'm just saying. This is my hope. I that's why I don't want you at 1-6. I want nothing to do with a 5-game losing streak. I want you to feeling good about yourselves coming in against the Jets.
You guys know how I always rant about officiating. The crew doing this game, and it's like the NCAA seeding for March Madness. The crew doing this game is the crew that did the last Giants-Washington game, where there was controversy over the Giants not getting called for pass interference in the end zone. You watch this game, the Giants will lose because of a terrible call, because they want to make things right, instead of not realizing that on that same play, Kayvon Thibodeau is getting eye poked, he's getting held, everything else. But we are going to be in for another rough outing from the officials.
Scott,
Can't wait.
When and how do you look for officials? Like, where is there like who's the next official website? Like, what do you do?
It's a skill. There's a website out there, Zebra. I just saw that. I saw that information posted. It was on Twitter.
Okay.
Well, X, whatever you want to call it. So we've ranted now for 3/4 of an hour. Any pet peeves this week? I'll start with Mike.
Pass. I'll have one, but I don't want to go first.
All right, Novak.
I've got 2. One's a quick one. And has that pet peeve ever happened with a song?
Oh,
Don't think so.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with the song because this fucking commercial, if I hear it one more time, I'm gonna kill myself. The BK have it your way, your rule is a pet peeve of mine. I'm over this thing. Can we stop with this commercial? It's on every day. Every game it's on. I'm tired of it. It's in my head. I can't get it out. I gotta put that out there.
Wait,
all right. So
for me, it's like the Costanza jingle, though. It's like sort of like it's annoying and irritating, but now I'm singing it in the shower. Remember Costanza, like by men, it's like by men, Costanza.
Burger King always comes up with these great promos. Remember when they did the king just staring outside the window, creeping?
Oh no, that was the worst.
So you always remember Burger King, and yet I've not been there in 10 years.
I haven't eaten Burger King probably more than that. I agree. Like, why is this on every 5 seconds? All right, so that was it. The other thing, okay, so has to do with the NFL, and I don't have a name for this. I usually try to have a name or a thing. I don't know what to call it, but it has to do with the officiating. And it is the tentacles of these penalties that I learn about every week that I had no idea existed. I watch a lot of football. I'd like to think I'm somewhat informed, but I learn something every week about a penalty, of a reason why it's a penalty, which I didn't know it was. And there are 2 reasons I'm going to give. One, in the Jets game, the Jets had the ball. They go back to pass. It's a clear defensive offsides or whatever. And so free play, right? So I'm thinking free play. Great. Zach Wilson drops back. He does what he should do. He finds Garrett Wilson over crosser over the middle. He's going for a touchdown. And Alan Lazard goes shoulder first into Blankenship for the Eagles with a incredible block, like a textbook fucking block. And I'm thinking that was the best block I've ever seen. Flag. Defenseless something. He had to, no, the thing was, as they said, he had to lead with his hands. What? When was that a thing? You had to lead with your hands on a block. They're going full speed. Do you want these guys to break their arms?
Snapping arms.
What are you supposed to do? He didn't lead with his head. He turned his head down, led with his shoulder, straight on, and it wasn't like it was a blindside block. The guy was staring right at him as he's coming at him.
He saw him
supposed to,
at the last minute.
Yeah, he saw him.
Yeah.
And you have to lead with your hands. Didn't know that was a thing at all. Never heard that piece of that rule at all. And then of course on the Hurts, the one we talked about earlier, where he got in the he fumbled the ball clearly and fumbled it into the end zone. But here's like a little thing on that rule. The player on the same team can't recover it in the end zone, but the defensive team gets it on the 1. But yet if they fumble it out of the end zone, the other team gets it on the 20. Why? Why is that? Like, what's the difference? Someone explain to me how. There's no
can't.
rationale. It's like the English language. Well, it's I before E except after C, except on these 3 words. What? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand why there are so many different little variations of all these flags and rules that I've never heard of. That's my pet peeve.
I don't know how the officials even keep up with how fast this game occurs in real time. How the fuck do they even manage to come out with these rules and hands? The guy's got to get his hands up. You're right though, Novak. I hadn't heard. None of us have heard that, right? He's got to. So when was this invented, or when was this created? That you got to get your hands up. Wait, how? What are you talking about?
I mean, soon enough, these officials are going to have like a book on their like strapped to their
Yeah.
side. They're going to like, let me check this out. Page 62, rule 13.5. And they're going to have to read it out because how can you remember all this?
Look, I mean, and here's where I have a problem here is we've made everything so complicated. We've said on the pod a couple of times, simplify things for the officials. Don't make it more difficult. Think about illegal man downfield now. They say anyone past 1 yard past the line of scrimmage on a passing play is downfield. You see play after play, the Chiefs, the Eagles, multiple guys are downfield past a yard, sometimes 5 yards downfield and no flag. So when you choose to throw the flags on plays like that, it appears that there's bias because you've picked and choose when you're going to throw the flag when you could have done it almost all game long. And I'm not even going to pick on illegal man downfield. The inconsistencies the NFL has is because they've made everything so complicated. We've said just call egregious fouls, call things that impact the play. If a receiver gets knocked down on the other side of the field because he's dragged down, call that defensive holding. If he's impeded slightly on the other side of the field and the ball doesn't go there, don't throw a flag. Things that impact the play, a holding at the point of attack. Call it. Don't call something on the opposite side of the field that has no impact. And that's what made me most mad about that Evan Neal play. Is Evan Neal's blocking a guy, which is supposedly legal if he takes you past a yard.
If you're
I don't even know if he
up,
actually took him past a yard.
If you're engaged with the guy, right?
I know that from high school.
Even if
you're
he did,
blowing
what
someone
impact,
up, you can block them 50 yards downfield.
Yeah, and even if he did, what impact did that have on the final outcome of the play?
Nothing.
Zero.
Nothing.
And there's rules on like the pocket. A pocket is an imaginary line. Like it's only shown on TV, but like you've got to like watch the quarterback. Oh, he's 1 foot out of the pocket, so that's not intentional ground. Like what? I'm sorry, like it doesn't make sense to me. How are these players supposed to know what the pocket is?
Yeah, that's a great one. That is a great one. And this sort of, I mean, that I was going to say sort of, that actually was my pet peeve, a little bit of a different take than that. And it's just how another piece of evidence that the officiating is just out of control is the lengths they're now going to make a bad call a good one. And I think that's, Scott was all over that. So I'll have another pet peeve, but yeah, I mean, we've talked about it just here in the last couple of weeks that, you're allowed to false start now in certain situations, apparently. Scott mentioned how, what's his name? The official in the booth at the Giants game was like just making up rules to make that not pass interference. It's different. The ball's in the air. No, it's never different. If you're grabbing a guy by the jersey, from the line of scrimmage to the back of the end zone, that's bad. Everyone knows. The officiating is so bad that it's almost like it's piling on at this point. And a lot of it gets swept under the rug because a majority of it is so egregious and so bad that regular bad calls are just being forgotten.
Yeah.
I thought of this while I was watching the end of the Giants game is, you ever notice, oh boy, that was a real, what's his name? Paul Harvey. You ever notice that these huge calls, these defensive holdings, these other calls, they don't call them when the game's not on the line. They're huge, impactful calls every time they're called. It's very rare that one of those calls happens that fans just forget about it by the end of the game. It's a gigantic call every time they do it. You got to take that power away from the refs. You have to.
Yep. Well, I'm going to continue with this theme for my pet peeve because it's not going anywhere. The power is with the officials. It is part. It's interfering with the outcome of just about every damn game. My particular pet peeve was on a specific play that occurred in the San Francisco Cleveland game, where San Francisco. I just had to do a little bit of math here too as I'm coming around here. So San Francisco's clinging to a 1-point lead late in the fourth quarter. Cleveland has the ball. They got a 3rd and 10 at their own 26. So PJ Walker is in for an injured Deshaun Watson, right? So he throws a short slant to the receiver Moore. I don't know if it's even his first name. Doesn't matter.
And former Jet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So if you saw the play, he throws a shitty ball where Moore has to stretch out. So now he's become, I'm doing air quotes here. He now, because of a shitty pass, if he hits him in the fucking chest, it's just a completed slant. But because he throws the ball so poorly, where Moore now has to outstretch his body, Gibson, the defensive back, comes up and makes a perfect stick with the shoulder. Novak is exactly what you're talking about with Lazard. Same kind of thing. If everyone saw the play. And you saw it live where it was a bang play, but they come in with here we go with the officiating. The guy comes in, he's defenseless at this point. So they call it the 15-yard roughing call. It's not unnecessary roughness, or it's not. They go hitting a defenseless receiver. He's not fucking defenseless. Walking down the street and getting attacked and mugged by fucking some guys down to going to your car in a fucking unlit parking garage. That's fucking defenseless. A guy. A receiver on an NFL football field where he has to catch a shitty thrown ball by his quarterback, stretched out, wearing a fucking helmet, shoulder pads, a cup, jock strap, the whole fucking thing. He's not defenseless. It's part of his occupation to go across the middle. He didn't hit him in the head. It's the same thing. Didn't lunge with it. Didn't hit him in the head. Didn't lunge. It was a textbook shoulder. Remember, we used to always hear separate the man from the ball. So what pisses me, everything pisses me off about that call. And I really didn't care. I wanted the Browns to actually win the game. I just wanted the Niners to lose, NFC, AFC, whatever. Just the whole. So but as soon as I see a call like that, I flip the switch and say, fuck this. I want San Francisco to win this game now because they just got screwed on a bad call. That would have made it 4th and 10 on their own 26. I didn't have a lot of confidence in Cleveland keeping that drive alive with that after that call. So of course the drive continues. Cleveland goes down. They got another penalty, defensive. They got a defensive holding call later in the drive after Cleveland crossed the 50. They go on to kick a field goal. Now San Francisco missed a makeable field goal to win the game. I think it was a 41-yarder by what's his name on San Francisco. But the Cleveland goes on to win that game. Guys, it's just bullshit because that drive was kept alive by a bullshit call at a critical moment that would have been going from a 3rd to a 4th down play. It's just wrong. And what pisses me off is that if he catches that and he gets blown up, well, then it's called unnecessary roughness. But because it was a shitty throw, the quarterback now is getting rewarded for that because he made his receiver defenseless according to the rules. He was make a better throw, dude. Because here's the thing: if he actually makes a better throw, the Niners are better off just tackling the guy. Just without having to hit what you call a defenseless receiver. I can't stand this term defenseless. This is the National Football League. These guys are wearing pads. That's the whole. And he hit him with his shoulder. I'll give you the penalty if the guy launches his helmet to helmet. I have no problem with that, calling that unnecessary roughness there. But when you make a textbook tackle, everything that Gibson did on that play was perfect. What the fuck are these defensive backs supposed to do, or anybody on the defense for that matter, when they're trying to just play defense in the NFL? Like you said, Mike, I'm not just a bitter Giant fan. I am a bitter, angry NFL fan with the way these games are officiated, the Hollywood stuff, the Taylor Swift stuff. That doesn't even matter. We didn't even have to talk about that tonight. I'm just bitter, guys, watching this sport. I watch it just to be annoyed, and just it's gotten bad. I'm really at that point where it's just I watch it literally for the entertainment value of our podcast here. That's one part I love for the week, to do this. Thank God we have this show, because it's therapy and venting session for me. It really is.
My question to you would be, like, you made such a great point. What's the opposite? What's a defensible receiver? He's aware. He has set himself. He has said, defender, you are coming. I see you coming. I am now defensible. Now you may hit
prepared.
me. I am prepared.
Right.
What is the opposite of defenseless? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
After you catch the ball, do you have to give permission? Like, okay, I'm eligible now, like an eligible receiver. I'm an eligible guy to be tackled here. Like, you got to notify the officials.
You got to sign a waiver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This sort of goes back.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, this sort of goes back to the discussion we were having a little bit ago about interpretation and inconsistency, because the whole reason the defenseless receiver was put in play is because guys were getting violently hit over the middle when they were jumping up to catch a ball in midair. You're getting legs taken out. You're getting speared. Back when, leading with the helmet was fine. That's what it meant. Then it somehow morphed into any hard hit now on a receiver is called defenseless receiver.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to tie this back to the play of Hurts at the end zone getting a touchdown. Just like replay used to be, if it wasn't conclusive, it was not overturned. And they always said, "Oh, that's inconclusive. You might be able to say that the ball crossed the line, but you can't see the ball cross the line there." Somehow replay went away from the term conclusive to just, we're going to let the play stand.
Yeah, that looked good.
Yeah.
I agree with, if you lead with your head and you hit someone else in the head, 100. I agree with that. That is aggressive. That is all of that. I can live with that. But if you lead with your shoulder, which is how you've been taught for 25 freaking years, however long they've been playing, that should not be defenseless or a penalty.
And bringing this thing back full circle to Cardone's first comments of the night. What is less reviewable than that? Exactly. Did he lead with his helmet or not? I mean, is there anything more black and white than that?
Nothing.
Why doesn't the NFL just go to the college system of replay?
Yep.
You don't have to challenge. The booth goes to New York. New York says, "Hey, that's a clear hit with the shoulder, not targeting, not defenseless receiver, nothing."
The only stupid part of that rule is in college, it's still a penalty. That review is just to see whether or not the player gets thrown out of the game.
Well, I've seen them actually. I've seen them undo a targeting call altogether.
Oh, can they do that? Maybe they changed that. I know at one point that was the rule. Yeah, all you have to do to look at this is remember, guys, the 80s and even 90s, like you had to be a man to go over the middle of the field in an NFL game. You had to be a grown ass man. That was tight ends. That was your Terrell Owens.
Oh yeah.
Now, guys, you got Kadarius Toney's running around in there, and they feel perfectly safe.
Yep. Guys, I want to make one more point on that Cleveland game. So, speaking about the officials, again, the combined, there were 25 accepted penalties for 224 penalty yards in that Cleveland-San Francisco game. 25 penalties. Again, that's not counting the ones that are declined and all the other bullshit or whatever. So, 25 fucking penalties, 224 yards. 12 on the Niners, 13 on Cleveland as far as the penalties. Is that not? I got to start looking at this closely because I don't know what's the average number of penalties per team per game. I don't know. I know it's not 13, but that's 25 penalties in one game. It's like an NBA game.
If you watch the Ravens-Titans game, which here was much later than there, I think it was like a 3:00 game here in Germany, but that game. It just seemed like every drive there were multiple penalties. There were at least 5 third down bailout calls. There were defensive holdings, illegal contacts, all of these plays. And a matter of fact, a Raven did get ejected for the game because he violently hit someone with the helmet to helmet. that's a textbook ejection, a textbook penalty. That's
Yep.
what should be called. And you know what? They actually reviewed that to see if he should be ejected. So don't tell me they don't take looks at things, because they do, but they do it selectively.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of helmet to helmet hitting going on in the NFL. It does not get called. It's very selective.
Yep.
And yet Bobby O'Kirky gets a roughing penalty on Josh Allen.
Yeah. See, if that's one to me again. You know, just because you threw the flag doesn't mean it has to be a penalty. That is so reviewable. If you look at that, if a ref looked at that, he'd be like, okay, I had a bad angle, looked like he led with the head, we're picking that up. You know, just seems doable.
My pet peeve, so you guys danced all over them. So, I mean, I'm not even going to go through the one I had on officiating because I think we've covered it. But I don't know if you saw the Chargers Dallas game. And first off, they had this camera angle on this woman and looked like a brand new Chargers jersey. So excited down here like this. And then the Chargers score. They show her jumping around like an idiot. First off, like the backdrop of it looked like she was in like a green room or something for a Hollywood scene. It turns out she rents a cabana for some games. So you can rent a cabana in San Diego. But you can't tell me that the NFL did not plant this woman in to show that there's Charger fans, because a couple days later, the internet tells all, and it showed her like 5-6 years ago in a Vikings jersey doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
She's a plant fan.
Plant fan.
And I swear to God, when they were down at the goal line, I thought she was going, get him, which would be counteractive, since the Chargers were the ones that were trying to score and eventually
Don't
did
get
score.
Don't get him. You know, that's awesome, Scott. You know what I noticed?
Great.
I noticed during that game that they were doing very tight, close-up groups of Charger fan shots. You know, they just really like zoomed in, because I remember I actually got tricked by it. Because I looked at it and I went, okay, where's the Dallas fan? There's no Dallas fan in the picture. I was like, wow, that happened like 2 or 3 times before. I'm like, I'm being fucking fucked with right now.
Bamboozled.
There's no way that this place is not crawling with Dallas fans. It's impossible that that's the case. But then I think, you know, like I often do, like, why would they do that? And then I go, oh, the ESPN like office is in that stadium now. and they mentioned it at least 5 times that I heard during that game about the fan experience is the best in the NFL at this stadium. You know, they are trying to sell this stadium.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I think
bamboozled.
I think the Chargers had to take a timeout in that game because crowd noise,
yes,
and it was for Dallas.
They had to take a timeout for crowd noise.
Think about how it's changed, Scott. There's a great one, because you called out a fake fan in a fake room, when 20 years ago it was the fat guy with the letter, like naked, like, you know, with his big giant stomach, like there, that was with a beer in his hand. That was an NFL fan. Now we've got this woman who's not even a real fan in a green room.
To Mike's point, the shot was so crisp. It looked like the backdrop was like this silver line. It wasn't like you were in stands. And I didn't even know you could have cabanas at a football game. So that's new to me. But the fact that they had such a close-up on her and we're watching her, you can't tell me she was a player. Like which camera guy is like, hey, pan up to that room. There's a crazy lady up there.
No, it was probably filmed 3 days ago, Scott, in an empty stadium. Roll the fan footage. Roll the fan.
That's hilarious.
That is great.
So we got some questions this week.
Time out. I just passed. I didn't surrender. I don't want Lowe getting on me.
We don't want Lowe getting upset.
I tried to give you a shot. You always say you don't want to go after Cardone, so I was trying to give you a shot to lead.
No, I'll be really quick with mine. Again, I think we all had the same idea tonight for a pet peeve, right? So I kind of scrambled a little bit, but I know I can always fill time updating everyone on Justin Fields. So that is what I plan to do with my time this week. So we had some action in the Justin. By the way, he sucks again. Everyone knows he's back to sucking. Yeah, that was going to ruin my life if he wasn't. But so let me read you a little quick thing here, and this will be my interpretation of why his running doesn't matter. This is a drive. Actually, it's the first drive of the game by the Bears. So first kickoff, Bears have the ball first. Justin Fields sacked. Right, first play, so that puts him in second and 17 or something. And then two next plays, there are no called quarterback run. He's just running for his life. He manages to get a first down, so he puts him in the hole and he gets him out. So that's not bad. So then the Bears are like, well, hell, we're not going to throw on first down again. This guy sucks. So they try to run it -5 on the run because you don't have to defend the pass when you're playing the Bears at all. You don't.
No.
So -5 for the first run. Next play, Justin Fields sacked. Next play, Justin Fields incomplete short right. And then punt. That's a Bears possession. That is a 8-play drive for, if my math is right, 3 yards. That's what that.
Yep.
That's what that amounts to. But anyway, the big news from Justin Fields in this game was he got hurt in this game. I don't know if you guys realize that, which I don't know whether to congratulate or say sorry to Bears fans for that, but he got hurt with about 10 minutes left in the game. And his backup, which, as we talked about earlier in the year, can't be someone that you've ever heard of before, because if he was, they'd be clamoring for him to be playing. So it's a guy named Tyson Bagent.
But
So
Yes.
So Bagent, is that what it is?
Shepherd University.
So he comes in off the bench to spell Mr. Fields. And so this is their stat lines. Okay. So Justin Fields in a half plus 5 minutes was 6 of 10 for 58 yards with 3 first downs. Where is it here? He was sacked 4 times. Yeah, that's Fields. So that's a very typical Fields stat line there.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interception in there somewhere. Tyson Bagent comes in for almost half the game, just a little bit less time than Justin had. He goes 10 of 14 for 83 yards. And he also has, he was sacked only once, not 4 times. So in other words, no visible difference between Justin Fields and Tyson Bagent.
And he even tried to mimic Fields by losing a fumble that was returned for a touchdown at the end of the game.
Mimic him.
Yes. He said this works for Justin. He seems to get on the cover of Sports Illustrated with this play. I'm gonna try it out. So yeah, that's the state of the Bears and our good friend Justin Fields. And depending on what type of Bears fan you are out there listening, I hope for your sake he's either back or not back next week. I bet it'll be one of them.
So
I love the Fields update. Yeah.
We do have some questions. So we've actually brushed on almost all these questions from people. So I think my friend Mike asked if we got to 6 to 7 wins as Giant fans, do we take optimism into the next season? I feel like Dable's response to this game was great when he said there are no trophies for trying. I'm not a big guy that thinks the end of a season 1 year carries over to the next year. Sometimes it can, but that optimism, you got 8 months and then the optimism, dries up a little bit.
I agree 100%, Scott. I've said it before. Oh, the Giants finished great. They're going to be great next year. That doesn't typically roll over. A lot of different players, faces, opponents, everything changes so much in that offseason anymore that there may have been a time where something like that was true, but I don't think it holds true. I don't think it holds true anymore. Now, I do think, I don't think if the Giants win their last 8 games at the end of the season, the NFL is going to fuck them on the schedule in the first 5 weeks. We're going to be 1-5 again. I mean, that's, without significant changes.
I tell you what I'm optimistic about is not getting fucking primetime games next year. At this point, we're not making the playoffs. So not to say I want to, again, we've talked about this many times. Last year was the only exception where we were relevant, made the playoffs. But we've talked about the Giants can never root against our own team. I can never do that. I can't sit here now and say, fuck them. Like, I hope they just go 1-16 or whatever the hell it is, and I can't do that. But I don't even see this. It's hard to envision 6-7 wins right now. There have one. Where are we getting 5-6 more wins? That's what, it really, when you're one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league. So, no, I don't have a lot of optimism. What was the question? Like, are we optimistic for next year if we win 6-7 games? I'm not optimistic about anything right now. No, it's just I'm demoralized. I'm dejected. I'm all of it. I'm not feeling optimistic about anything. Like I said, the only thing I'm excited about is if the Giants do finish 3-14, is not getting road primetime games in your division. Give us a break with the primetime bullshit. I don't care that it's New York. God damn it. Stop it. Put us on at 1:00 on Sunday against the Bucks at home or the Browns or whatever. I'll look at the schedule. Give us the Panthers at home.
They got the Jets. They got the Jets.
Giants are here next year.
Team.
Yeah,
guys,
we're away.
This was four primetime games in the first 6 games.
Yep,
that's insane. How does that happen?
4-6.
Has to have never happened before. I have no idea if it's happened.
A wild card appearance, Novak, and a New York in front of the team. Like, it's it.
Put the Jets in there. I think we've had 3 now. So we've had 7 of like the first 12 or whatever it is. I mean, it's ridiculous.
The AWS, the perfect schedule.
The Jets thought they'd have Rodgers. So again, you're going to have that Friday after Good Friday game or whatever, the Black Friday game going.
The game that's not actually on a holiday, that's outstanding.
The Black Friday and Christmas
Eve.
Christmas Eve.
That's right. He's born. He's coming out, like I said, from the manger.
Too bad they don't play a game on Easter.
Right.
He is risen.
It's risen.
He has risen indeed.
Oh, my God. Can't even joke around about that. I really can't.
So Brian Peacock asked, we touched upon this, but I don't know if you guys want to add any more context to it. But he asked, is there a controversy about the quarterback with Tyrod Taylor outperforming Jones? So of course he's throwing in a little he's turning the needle there. He probably was wondering how the Chargers had some fans against the Cowboys in that stadium too. But
yeah, we didn't really get into that as much as I thought we might. Of course, we had plenty of stuff to cover tonight, but I mean, come on, that is totally Brian twisting the knife. He knows damn good and well that Tyrod Taylor did not do anything to outperform Daniel Jones in that game. 0. Let's go back to a game you think Jones sucked in and look at his stat line and compare it to Tyrod Taylor against Buffalo.
What I think Taylor did a little bit better than Jones is that he naturally scrambles for his life rather than runs for his life. And what I mean by that is he'll scramble, sometimes double back, which again is a bad thing because a lot of times you double back and then you're just now you're sacked for 11 yards instead of 7.
Yeah.
But he did buy a little bit of time scrambling and then not taking off and running and then throwing the ball. I think Jones wants to do that too, but then Jones gets to the point where there's no receivers open. You can't judge this game on because Tyrod Taylor took like 6 deep throws and say, well, Jones doesn't do that. The Buffalo Bills might have been in a situation where they're letting guys run a little bit deep because the Giants haven't thrown the ball deep and they're trying to get pressure on Taylor. So those opportunities are open. They'd be open for Jones too if he won that game.
You make a wonderful point that people overlook sometimes is there's a difference between a running quarterback and a scrambling quarterback. Sometimes a scrambling quarterback is also a runner. But in this case, Jones is a runner, not a scrambler. Tyrod Taylor is a little bit of both, but he certainly has that scramble ability that Jones doesn't have.
Oh, what Taylor's performance did Sunday night, it doesn't create a starting quarterback controversy with Daniel Jones. We know Daniel Jones is solidified. As a starter, we know that. What that game did for me is at least say, all right, if Tyrod Taylor has to start some games, we actually have a chance to win.
Yeah,
like that. It provides just the ability. Like that's what I'm looking for. Like, oh, we have a good backup. You know, like we have a backup
Yeah.
that can actually win, that can perform and possibly win a game. I'm not coming out of that game and be like, oh, I think Tyrod Taylor should be starting every week now, and I think he's going to challenge it. No. It's just like, oh shit, if Jones is going to be out for a while with this and subsequent injuries, with the beating that guy takes, he's gonna eventually gonna have more injuries. At least we have a capable backup. So Tyrod Taylor to me is a capable backup. That's what Sunday night proved, at least for me. Is that all right? This guy, he's not a complete disaster out there. The guy can actually play. He made some nice throws. There's no question. But to say controversy, no, don't. That's a media fucking buzzword and all that bullshit. Don't get caught up in that.
Yeah. And if he has to play for any extended time, let's be honest, we're going to end up seeing Danny DeVito, whatever his name is, out there sooner or later.
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito, who's slightly taller than Bryce Young.
What's his name?
Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito. That's his brother.
So he still sounds mobbed up though.
Yeah.
Tommy Two Toes.
Mobbed up.
If Tommy DeVito gets in a game and all of a sudden a lot of money goes on the Giants, you better take the Giants. I'm just you can read between the lines on that one.
My buddy Mark asked a string of questions. How is Lawrence Taylor still alive? Which is a marvel, probably, of the human body.
Yeah, that's more of an anatomy question. Yeah.
He also asked if, why are we still paying Sterling Shepard? Shep shows up every once again. My bigger question is, why did we pay Paris Campbell? Because I don't know what the hell Paris Campbell's doing.
Looks cool in that number 0, but that's his stat line at his number.
Good one.
Look at our receiving core. I mean, Hyatt might be good. I know he's a rookie. Waller, but I love our big free agent signing, Waller, and again, two times we're at the 1 yard line, and where's our big time tight end catching that ball at the to score a touchdown at either ends of the first or the end of the game? It's just hilarious. Like the big guy that we signed, he's not scoring a touchdown.
Smells a lot like. Yeah, it smells a lot like Joey Galloway, right? I mean, this is where
Kenny
we are. I mean,
Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that's gonna be my reputation. Oh, I like the fat one who doesn't remember anyone's names. I like that guy. Yeah. But
you're like Super Dave Osborne, but he intentionally called people by the wrong name. If you remember that, he'd be on David Letterman. He's like, "Well, Dan, so do you do your own stunts?" Well, Dan, that's a good question. He just intentionally called people by the wrong. Just a classic disrespectful thing. So, Mike, you got to go with the spin. Like you're doing it intentionally to disrespect the guy.
I just sold myself out. I should have just leaned into it a little bit more.
Yeah, just.
Galladay ended his Giant career with what? No touchdowns, or maybe he had one at the very end. And
he had the one meaningless one against Philly, I think.
It kind of goes back to like what we say about the Giants in general. And, it's not that we have a free agent signing who everyone agrees was a great free agent signing. Oh my God, that was a steal trade for the Giants. What Darren Waller, oh my God, this and that. If he can stay healthy, he's uncoverable. It's not that they just come and don't live up to the hype. They do nothing. Nothing. Mm-hmm. Now Waller's had, I think Waller probably already has more yards than Galladay had in his Giant career, but where's this impact? And I know my own answer. It's offensive line.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else tonight?
I do. Can I? I'm just going to ask to give a 2-minute shout out.
No,
So as you know, I grew up and Cardone and I've beaten this one to death, but I grew up in a town it was Giant fans, right? So I went to a college in central Pennsylvania right near Scott, and I get to my fraternity, the whole thing, and it's 75% fucking Giant fans. And so I will remember till the day I die, the 1990 Super Bowl when Norwide is lining up there for the kick, and all my fucking fraternity brothers are lined up down on one knee, arms locked, praying that, he misses this field goal. And you Giant fans don't like the passive Giant fan. Like there was a guy in our fraternity that was like a Dolphin fan, and then right before the kick, he gets up there like, I'm gonna root too. And I remember my one friend Bob looks over at him and goes, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Yeah.
Like right before the biggest kick of his life, he's like, "Get out of like you're not a Giant fan. Get out of
Get out
here.
of the way.
Yeah.
Get out of the way,
Yeah.
dude. Get the fuck out." So
Cardone would have dismissed him as well.
he sounded just Mike. He sounded just like Cardone would have said it. Like, oh, Bob Labus. He listened to this pod. I remember him saying, "Get the fuck out of here." So, as of course, I'm in the back of the room with like a bunch of Redskin, Giant, Jet, Cowboy fans, and we're like, "Please make this field goal," and because we don't have to listen to these dudes for the next 2 years. And of course, the kick, he misses it, and those Giant fans went nuts. I remember that night, break on through by the doors. They were blasting it all night long, and I couldn't sleep. I was almost crying in my bed, like I got to deal with this shit. So I just want to say, guys, I want to hang out and have a good time. Let's not act 52. Can we just act like we're 20 again for 3 days? We can do it. So they all listen to the podcast, and I just want to do that shout out.
Yeah, you have your reunion this week, don't you?
I do. So I'm headed to Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania tomorrow morning.
Oh,
Where are
nice.
you
There you go.
staying?
We're staying in apartments in downtown Selinsgrove, like 20 of us. So yeah, it should be a good time.
That's gonna be a wild time.
I might not be in my best shape on Monday or Tuesday, but I'm gonna make it through. So that was my one more
Worth
thing.
it.
So I had to do that. Thank you for giving me that 2 minutes. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
awesome.
Mike and I actually we were indoctrinated to Cardone in one. I think we've told this story on the pod before, but we were watching a game at Cardone's place, or it might have actually been in Mike's place. It was a Giant Eagle game. I remember that. And Cardone gets a call from one of his buddies, and you just hear him rant, "What the no, hey, what the fucking dog? What the fuck you doing?" He hangs up, and all of a sudden he just goes, "That was my buddy." He goes, "He wanted me to catch him up on what's happened the last couple drives. He was out walking the dog during the football game."
That's what I do. I love them.
I mean,
Because the
I'd rather,
guy's like, come on, just give me an update. Carl's like, no, fuck you. Walk
mean,
your dog.
walk either that or like strap the leash, hold the fucking leash like out the front door, or let the dog just piss on the floor and clean it up after the game. Who cares? You're in the middle of it's 3rd and 2 in a 1-score game. What are we doing?
Look, that's what I love about you
that.
Giant fans. You don't like the passive Giant fan. You're either all in or you're out. You're not half in, sort of a fan. I actually love that about you guys.
Yeah,
I'm not even accepting rabid Giant fans who used to be Viking fans and we're seeing in Viking jerseys 5 years ago now rooting for the Giants fervently. I don't like those people either.
Who's that?
the San Diego Charger lady.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, no,
the plant, the NFL plant.
Now Scott will tell you, I let a dog piss on the floor before to finish a poker game. It's a true story. I still feel bad about that. He was a good dog, but I thought
like there was a water leak. It was just you heard it sounded like a fire hose.
Yeah, it wasn't a small dog.
All right, we are the 3 Angry Giant fans and a Jet fan. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all the support this year. We've had great views on YouTube too, so check out our YouTube channel. But if you can, go to Twitter, send us questions at angry_3, and we will see you next week when we don't have a Jets game to recap, but we'll see if we have a defeat or a win for the Giants. So take care, everyone. I will be back in the States.
Good. I hate
Good
your
luck.
shitty acoustic German version.
Yeah, man. Get back from